started here in just a minute. Can you guys hear me all right? If not, there's plenty of seats up front. If you want to speak, we want to make sure you got signed in over here to your right at the tables. That's how we're going to call you up here this evening if you do want to speak. All right, I'm showing 6:30. Check with my official timekeeper, apparently, out in the audience. All right, we're going to go ahead and call the February 27th, 2023 Morgan County Board of Zoning Appeals meeting to order. We do have a new member this evening joining us, Jason Maxwell, so we'd ask our board's attorney, Mr. Peden, to please swear in Mr. Maxwell.
Yep. All right, sir, do you swear that you will abide by the laws and regulations of the state of Indiana and the county of Morgan and the laws and constitution of the United States of America and the discharge of your official duties as a member of the Board of Zoning Appeals? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peden. We do have a quorum this evening with all members present. And at this time, I'd ask Mr. Rumbaugh to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rumbaugh. Next item on the agenda this evening is our election of officers, which we postponed from our last meeting until tonight. So we'll open for motions for the officers for this year.
I would move that we re-elect the chair, Mr. Chapello.
I have a motion. Do I have a second to
I'll
that?
second it.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
I abstain. Next, for vice chair. Do I have a motion for vice chair? Thank you. I have a motion for Mr. Rumbaugh to be the vice chair. Is there a second for that? Second. Thank you. A second for Mr. McGrath. All in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. And then for secretary, open for a motion for secretary.
Mr. Maxwell.
Okay.
I second.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second for Mr. Maxwell to be our secretary. All in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. Aye.
I abstain.
Thank you. All right. Copies of the minutes from our last month's meeting were mailed out to us. Were there any changes, corrections, additions, or deletions to those minutes? If not, I'll open for a motion to approve the minutes as sent.
I'll make a motion that we approve it.
Thank you. Do I have a second to that?
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The minutes are approved. All right. Any changes, corrections, additions, deletions to the agenda for this evening? Gentlemen. I will note that we did receive a letter from Mr. Coffey, who's representing Mike and Tabitha Swango, asking that the board continue their application for 60 days so that they can secure approval through the State Department of Health and submit plans to the surveyor for erosion control and drainage. It also looks like he needs something from the city of Martinsville in regards to inspections. Is there any discussion around this to continue this? No. Open for a motion to continue this for?
He's asked this for 60 days.
Yes.
Move we approve his request for a 60-day meeting to be put on the docket for April.
Have a motion to continue U-23-01 until our April meeting. Do I have a second to that? Thank you. All in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. That is continued. All right. Other than that, no changes to the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
Thank you. A second to that?
Second.
Thank you. Motion to approve as amended and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. The agenda is approved. At this point, we'll ask our board attorney, Mr. Peden, to swear in all those participants that would like to speak tonight. Thank you, Mr. Peden. All right, folks, what I'll do next is I'm going to call up the first applicant this evening. And when I call you up, we ask that you come up to the microphone and address the board and explain to the board why you're here, what you're trying to do, why we should grant your request. More information is good. And we ask that you start off by giving us your name and your address, please. All right. So our first item on the agenda this evening is public hearing D-23-02. Michael and Andrea Prager are requesting a development standard variance to build a residential dwelling across their adjoining lot line. The property is located at 0 South Morgantown Road in Jackson Township and is zoned for ag. For this application, I have Andrea Prager signed up and Mike Prager. And we're going to ask you one at a time to come up to the podium. So Andrea, I'm going to call on you first because you're signed in first. Please.
We purchased, it's a little over 21 acres.
Your name and your address, please.
It's Andrea Prager, 1858 South Franklin Road, Greenwood, Indiana.
Thank you.
46143.
Please continue.
We recently purchased a little over 21 acres on South Morgantown Road in Morgantown. And the previous owner had divided it into 3 separate tracts of about 7 acres each. And we are going to build a single-family home and a barn. And we wanted to, since she's got 3 lot lines, the house we had wanted to put kind of right straddling on lots 1 and, or tract 1 and 2. And then the barn approximately between tracts 2 and 3. So we're asking for variances on both of those situations.
Okay, anything else you'd like to tell us?
The main reason we want to put the house where it is because it's the highest point on the land and would help with water drainage. It's low, it kind of has some swells to each side, so it's really the best place. And it would make our driveway safer because if we get too close to the woods that come out on South Franklin Road, it's very hard to have a safe exit point from our driveway. So it would allow us to put our driveway a little bit over to the side. So those are the main reasons why we wanted to put it where we are asking for. And it won't, it's a typical home. It won't be anything different than what's already in that surrounding area, so it won't affect prices of homes.
Anything else?
I think that'll do it.
All right, thank you. Gentlemen, any questions for Ms. Prager?
I have none.
No? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mike Prager.
I think Andrea covered everything, so if there's no questions, I'll just go back.
Can you state your name and your address for us?
Yeah, Mike Prager, I'm also 1858 South Franklin Road in Greenwood, and we're talking regarding that Morgantown Road lot that Andrea mentioned.
Okay. Gentlemen, any questions for Mr. Prager?
I have none.
No?
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. All right. I have no one else signed up on behalf of this application this evening. Was there anyone else here on behalf of this application that didn't sign in by chance? No? Very good. All right. This is an application for a development standard variance, and in order for the board to grant this, we have to agree that the applicant meets three findings of facts. And the applicant states on their application for the proposed use variance that they're requesting a variance to allow to build across tracks 1 and 2 for a single-family home. We'd also like a variance to allow for a future pole barn or future barn between tracks 2 and 3. These locations are the highest points and would allow for better drainage. It also allows us to have a safer driveway exit, which would be hidden by trees if it were closer to the lot line on track, and it doesn't tell me what track number. Under section 2, 2.1, the statement is made that the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The applicant indicates that's a true statement and makes a statement. This is a single-family dwelling similar to those in the area. Under 2.2, the statement is, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. The applicant indicates that's a true statement and writes, this is a residential dwelling and will not affect property values due to being similar to those surrounding it. Under 2.3, the statement is the strict application of the terms of the ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. The applicant indicates that's a true statement and states this allows for us to place the home at a high point on the land, which will allow for better drainage, safer driveway placement, and better septic field placement. Health Department states they have no objections. The county surveyor has reviewed and makes no comment. Staff makes the following recommendation. On finding of fact number 1, it asks if the public health, general welfare would be harmed if this request is approved. This is a residential use involving significant acreage. Building across the lot line still leaves substantial setbacks from the nearest neighbors and therefore would not be injurious to the adjacent neighbors' use and enjoyment of their property. Staff goes on to write, under finding of fact number 2, ask if the use and value of the area or use and value of the adjacent properties would be negatively impacted if this request was approved. They have written, this is a residential dwelling commonplace to the area, so it would not have a negative impact on property values. And lastly, under finding of fact number 3, staff has written, ask if there would be practical difficulties in the use of the property if the variance was not approved. The petitioners maintain that this location is the high point of the property, which makes it ideal to accommodate the house, drainage, septic, and driveway. And staff makes the following statement, because the petitioners have satisfied the finding of fact, staff is not opposed to the variance request to build a residence that crosses the adjoining property line. Gentlemen, open for discussion on this application.
Familiar with the property, and it's pretty common sense that they be allowed to do this, in my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Rumball. Anyone else have any discussion on this?
I agree with them.
Yeah, I would agree so also. I think in there, both what they've written and what staff further supports that they've met their finding of facts, and I'd be in favor of approving this if a motion's made to do so.
14 acres there, and it doesn't look like it's gonna be too crowded.
No. Mr. Maxwell, any comments on this one?
No, it looks pretty straightforward. I don't see any problems with it.
Thank you. Mr. McGrath? Thank you. Any other discussion, gentlemen? If not, I'll open for a motion.
I would move that we approve petition D-23-07 for the reasons stated in the petitioner's finding of facts and the staff report on 2.1, on 2.2, that we approve it based on the reasons the petitioner's finding of facts and the staff report, and 2.3, same thing, the reasons stated petitioner's finding of facts and reasons reported in the staff report.
Okay. Mr. Rumbaugh, I noticed the petition is D-23-02. Okay, that's what you're, I think you said 07.
Lord knows I could have, but I've been D-2302.
Okay, all right. Okay, have a motion to approve without any conditions. Do I have a second to that?
Jason
motion?
Maxwell seconds.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That is approved. All right, next item on the agenda is public hearing D-23-03. Michael and Andrea Prager are requesting a development standard variance to build an accessory pole barn across their adjoining lot line. The property is located at 0 South Morgantown Road in Jackson Township in a zone for ag. And for this one, I have both Pragers signed up to speak. Let's see who I've got first here. Looks like Andrea again. Andrea, do you want to come up and address the board, starting off with your name and your address, please?
It's Andrea Prager, 1858 South Franklin Road, Greenwood, Indiana, 46143.
Okay.
And essentially, it's the same situation, and the pole barn would be a little bit towards the back of the land, and that would allow for the rest of that acreage to be farmed. So that's basically why we put it next to the house, and the acreage to be farmed would be in front of it.
Anything else?
That'll do it.
No? What are you going to use the pole barn for?
Probably a couple horses.
I'm sorry?
Probably a couple of animals at some point here.
Okay.
And that's future.
No commercial enterprises out of the pole
No.
barn?
No.
Or the barn? Okay. Gentlemen, any questions for the applicant? No? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Prager, would you like to speak? Thank you. Mr. Prager passes. All right. Very similar to the other request from the Pragers. This is a request for a development standard variance, and requesting a variance to allow them to build across tracks 1 and 2 for a single-family home, also like a variance to allow for a future pole barn between tracks 1 and 2. These locations are the highest points, would allow for better drainage, also allows us to have a safer driveway exit, which would be hidden by trees if it was closer to the lot line on track. Under 2.1, they indicate that's a true statement that the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community, because they have written this is an accessory pole barn similar to those in the area. Under 2.2, they indicate that's a true statement. The statement is the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. They go on to write, this is a pole barn, will not affect the property values due to being similar to those surrounding it. And lastly, under 2.3, the statement is the strict application of the terms of the ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. Again, they indicate that's a true statement and have written, this allows for us to place the barn at a high point on the land, which will also, which will allow for better drainage across, better drainage, access to home, and better location for farming. Health Department states they have no objections. Surveyor makes a note that they have reviewed, but no comment. And staff's report, mirrors the findings of facts and their recommendation from the previous application, and they lastly state that because the petitioners have satisfied the findings of fact, staff is not opposed to the variance request to build a pole barn that crosses their adjoining property line. Gentlemen, open for discussion?
Same as the other. It's pretty common sense to approve this.
Any other discussion? No? Open for motion.
I move we approve petition D-23-03, based on 2.1, the reason stated in the petitioner's finding of fact, the reason stated in the staff report. 2.2, the same thing, the reason stated in the petitioner's finding of fact, the reason stated in the staff report. And on 2.3, the reason stated in the petitioner's finding of fact, the reason stated in the staff report.
Thank you. A motion to approve with no conditions. Is there a second to that motion?
I approve it.
Thank you. You make a motion to, you're making a second. Thank you. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is approved as well. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda this evening is public hearing SE-23-01. Doug Baker is requesting a special exception to allow an off-road racing event. The property is located at 854 West Greencastle Road in Monroe Township and is zoned for agriculture. This application I have two persons signed up in support of. I don't believe we have anyone signed up in opposition to or as a concerned citizen. And I have Doug Baker signed up to come up and tell us his name and address and then what he's proposing to do and why we should approve this.
My name is Doug Baker. I live at 12578 North Gasburg Road, Mooresville, Indiana. The farm that we're talking about is at 854 West Greencastle Road is the address for the variance. A year ago, approximately, we came down and asked for a variance to do this race last year and was granted. And I was asked at that time if I would do another one, and my answer was I didn't know until I did the first one first. So guy learns a lot, and here I am. And we got along really good. We're doing this with a fine association. And I had a little, jealous reason for it. I got a couple little grandsons that raced, so that was pretty good. But we were able to, it was successful enough that we were able to get my mom some hearing aids that she desperately needed. And we would like the ability and the permission to do this, once a year. We're farmers, so it fits in with the time before the crop season starts. And, it's not something I'd want to do every weekend for sure. But Mike with the Crossroads Association, they did a fine job, and we were very pleased with how things turned out. And they took care, and, my brother said when it was over, he went out to look for some trash. He picked up 2 pop cans and hot dog wrapper on 185 acres of ground. So they did a fine job of cleaning up, and we didn't have any kind of issues. One of the things I did learn was this is more of a family event than anything more grandmas and grandpas and moms and dads hauling little kids in there to do this. And it was an experience. So like I said, it turned out to be a good experience, and it gives us a chance to make some income off of ground that we don't normally get to do. You either cut timber off of it or sell it. So we're not looking to do that. So we come up with this way to help make a little income for the farm.
Anything else, Mr. Baker?
Pardon me?
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think the application says we went for a solid date in April for this year. and a date for next year to be announced, but it's probably going to be along the same time frame. It's just hard to pin that down. And this date was determined, my mom said she didn't want to have a race on Easter Sunday, so we had to move it to the weekend after. Mom ain't happy, ain't nobody gonna get no peace.
All right, anything else?
I don't believe I can say anything else.
Gentlemen, questions?
There was no belly aching last year, so I guess it's a great sign.
Yeah, I thought it turned out to be. In fact, if I may say, one of the neighbors that was close to it said, hey, it was awesome. He could lay in his bed and watch the motorcycles race. So,
Okay, and did you meet with the technical committee?
In my staff report, I indicated that I emailed all of them asking if they wanted to meet, and none of them wanted to because they were perfectly satisfied with how he handled the race and he did what he said he would do.
Okay,
They
all right,
didn't see a need for another meeting this year.
okay. And you're the landowner, Mr. Baker, but you don't actually put on the race, right? Someone
no,
else does that?
Mike with Crossroads Racing Association, he's here. He
Okay.
signed up to speak,
Okay, we'll get him up here in a minute then.
but I don't know.
Okay, all right,
I just stand there and look pretty.
okay. All right. Gentlemen, any other questions?
I have none.
I thought his detailed summary of what they've got, what they did last year, and what improvements and stuff, I thought that was pretty good. I think,
Well, when you have a letter from the big development next to them that said they had no problems, and that represents a lot of people, that's also very good. Echo Lake.
I went and checked it out when they had that race, and early morning, there was a little dew on the grass. Other than that, it was pretty nice.
Any questions for the applicant? No? All right. Thank you, Mr. Baker.
Thank you.
All right, Mike, is it Desi? Yes. Am I pronouncing that right? Yes. Okay. It's unusual. Not your name, that I'm pronouncing it right.
I'm
Okay.
Mike Desi. I live at 2158 East US Highway 40 in Greencastle. Basically, I came out here, if you guys have any questions or issues, we're the promoters, we're the ones that put the event on, lay the course out, run the weekend activities, and then clean everything up when we're done with the weekend, so.
Will the course be the same as it was last year?
It will be a little different here and there. We've got to make a couple adjustments where it got a little muddy in areas. We're going to move it a little bit over left, right, clean it up a little bit. Probably be ran in the opposite direction as it was last year. That kind of helps the ground heal. As you come through and you get dirt built up here this year, next year you come back through and you kind of drag it back down. That kind of helps the ground heal a little bit, so.
Any changes from what you did last year to what you're proposing to do this year?
No.
In the whole operation of it?
No. Just tweaking the course a little bit here or there, make it a little bit better, a little bit safer. We found some areas that we can make it safer on, so we'll clean it up a little bit here and there. And basically, it's the same thing, same activities, the same weekend schedule as it was last year.
Okay, all right.
Really, the only difference is going to be we'll run the property in reverse direction as we did last year.
Gentlemen, other questions?
I have none.
Anyone? No? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. This is a request for a special exception use. We have to agree that the applicant meets 6 findings of facts. The applicant first item under number 1 says proposed special exception use. Describe the proposed use of the property. Type of use, hours of operations, access, necessary construction, excuse me, employees, et cetera. And the applicant has written a dirt bike / four-wheeler race with the Crossroads Race Series. Contestants' arrival would start on Friday, April the 14th, 2023. Races will be held Saturday, April 15th, 2023, and Sunday, April 16th, 2023, with all events concluding on Sunday, April 16th, 2023. 2024 date to be determined. Then under number 2, standards for evaluation. It makes a statement, the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the special exception will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, or general welfare. The applicant indicates that's a true statement and has written that it is located on a rural farm in a remote area with limited exposure to the surrounding community. As in the past, our best efforts will be put forth to ensure there will be minimal inconvenience to our surrounding neighbors. Under 2.2, the statement is a special exception will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted. The applicant indicates that's also a true statement and has written it is a remote section and borders other agricultural land. Under 2.3, the statement is the establishment of the special exception will not impede or substantially alter the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding property for uses permitted in the district. The applicant indicates that's a true statement and writes the exception would not be a permanent alteration to the family farm. Under 2.4, the statement is adequate utilities, access, road, drainage, and other necessary facilities have been or are being provided. The applicant again indicates that's a true statement and writes an ample supply of portalets and trash receptacles will be provided. Under 2.5, the statement is adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress and egress so designed as to minimize traffic congestion on the public roadways. The applicant indicates that's a true statement and writes the driveway has been widened, a 150-yard ingress egress off of Greencastle Road. And lastly on this, it says the special exception will be located in a district where such use is permitted and all other requirements set forth in this UDO that are applicable to such use will be met. The applicant indicates that's a true statement and writes Ag District. Staff's recommendation on this is that the staff believes the petitioner has satisfactorily addressed all the 6 special exception standards, note CBZA Form 2 in the handouts, and successfully followed through with the TAC comments for last year's event. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the petitioner's request for a special exception to hold an off-road racing event on this property in April of 2023 and 2024. This recommendation is made on the condition that there are no issues or complaints arising from the 2023 event, which would require additional evaluation by the BZA prior to the 2024 event. Gentlemen, open for discussion on this request.
I have a question. Are we approving 2 years or 1 year? 2 years. Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you.
Any discussion? I'll tell you my thoughts on it. You came in front of us last year and asked for an exception to have this event. We've had others in the community take place that didn't ask for the exception, so thank you for following the right procedures to get it done the right way. Secondly, we had no complaints received in our office as a result of this event last year. I'm sure everybody that was there had a great time. And we appreciate that you're taking the same steps to ensure that it's going to be a weekend that that is safe and not something that's going to be a major inconvenience for the neighbors and surrounding property owners for your event. I would support this. Any other discussion?
I have none.
No? Mr. Maxwell?
No, I would put on there that for the 2024, as long as there's no complaints for the 23 event, I'd put that in the motion.
At this time, we'll open for a motion then. Mr. Maxwell, you care to make the motion with your condition?
I guess we can do this.
All right.
Okay, I move
Not to put you on the spot or anything.
That's all right. I move to approve petition SC 2301. Motion is made with the stated following facts being true for 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, 2.5, 2.6. I would also add, this is for April of 2023 and 2024 date to be determined if no issues or complaints from the 2023 event.
Okay, thank you. Have a motion with a condition. Do I have a second to that motion? Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Say aye. Aye. It's approved. Thank you very much. Good job on that last year.
Come back and ask for 3.
All right, our last item on the agenda this evening is public hearing D-23-04. Sean Stewart, on behalf of Ruth Derringer, is seeking a development standard variance to increase the minimum square footage for an accessory dwelling. The property is located at 11274 North County Road 700 West in Adams Township and is zoned for ag. And for this application, I have Sean Stewart and 2 others signed up. And Mr. Stewart, if you'd come up and address the board, please.
Good evening. My name is Sean Stewart, 7 West High Street, Mooresville, Indiana. I am here on behalf of Ruth Derringer, property address 11274 North County Road 700 West in Monrovia. We're asking for a variance to build 1 residential unit that has 2 separate living quarters in there, joined by a common garage. The variance is for the second living unit that is 1,410 square feet, which exceeds the 800 square foot minimum or maximum for the accessory building structure. The reason for this is Ruth would like her daughter, Donna, to be living in the same house with her, but have her own separate living quarters. So as Ruth gracefully ages, somebody there is to watch her and take care of her, and Donna will also take care of the property and the surroundings. I think in your packet you have a floor plan showing the unit, a rendering of what the house is going to look like. We've designed it to make it look like it's basically a single-family residence. We have a septic permit in hand. So basically, we're ready to start construction if we have your approval.
Thank you. Gentlemen, any questions?
I have none.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ruth, would you like to speak? You don't have to, Ruth. I know, we're kind of scary. I have Fred Glover signed up. Fred, did you want to speak?
I'm Fred Glover. I'm the Adams Township trustee. I live at 11983 North Little Point Road, Stilesville. And I've known Ruth for probably 30 years, and at least. And She's had some difficulties, lost children, and Donna is her, as you have read, is her only surviving child. And Ruth is able now to build these two separate units with the connecting garage that Donna can be there for her mother when Ruth gets old. Right now, Ruth will probably be taking care of Donna. But when Ruth gets old, she'll need Donna's help. And the size of the unit is what's in question. You gentlemen know more about that than I do, but it seems reasonable to ask for Donna to have a decent-sized living space along with Ruth. So I believe that it will increase the value of the properties, the real properties around this dwelling because of how much nicer it's going to be. So I definitely support it for the people of Adams Township. Thank you.
Thank you. Gentlemen, any questions for Mr. Glover?
None.
No. Thank you. Mr. Stewart, can you come back up for a second? Are you the builder of this?
Yes, I am.
Okay, all right. And is it going to look like the picture you submitted into us?
Yes. Colors may vary, but that is the structure.
I'm sorry?
Colors may vary, but that is the structure.
Okay. And I'm just wondering, who's in the two-story, who's in the single-story?
Donna's in the two-story. Ruth is
Okay.
in the single-story.
Okay, all right. Okay. I think it shows your master bedroom as being a master bathroom.
It is mislabeled, yes.
Okay, all right. That's a big bathroom. Gentlemen, anybody have any questions for Mr. Stewart?
Is this a single septic or is it two separate septics?
Single septic. Yeah.
Okay.
When do you anticipate starting construction on this?
If it's approved soon, within the month.
When do you estimate completing construction?
Fall.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I have no one else signed up. Again, this is an application for a development standard variance. And the applicant has written that for the number one, the proposed use variance, they state one residential structure with two separate dwelling units connected by a shared garage. The main dwelling unit, Ruth Derringer's, is 1,744 square feet. And the second dwelling unit, Donna Derringer, is 1,410 square feet. The second dwelling unit exceeds the accessory building limit of 800 square feet and thus requires a variance. And under number two, standards for evaluation, the applicant has written the residential structure being proposed will fit into the surroundings nicely and not pose any adverse effects to the surrounding landowners. Under 2.2, they have written the existing older original residential structure has been removed, and the proposed new residential structure will not negatively impact property values. In fact, the new proposed residential structure will clean up and improve the area. And under 2.3, they have written the proposed new residential structure is one structure consisting of two single-family residential units joined by a common garage. The second unit exceeds the 800 square feet accessory limit, thus needing a variance for approval. The reason for this particular design is to provide the landowner, Ruth Derringer, age 83, and her daughter, Donna Derringer, age 53, with a home that provides them both separate living spaces, but also allows Donna, Ruth's only living child out of 5 children, the ability to take care for Ruth as she ages and allows Donna to maintain the property. The house was designed not only to provide 2 separate living spaces, but it was crafted to fit in with the surroundings and look like a single residential structure. The surveyor makes no comment. The health department states they have no objections. And staff, on their report, under finding of fact number 1, ask if the public welfare will be harmed if this request is approved. And staff goes on to write, this is a residential use in an area where residential uses are permitted, so it would not be injurious to the neighbors' use or enjoyment of their property. Under number 2, it asks if the use and value of the adjacent properties would be negatively impacted if this request were approved. This is new construction intentionally designed to look like one residence. So though the ADU would exceed the maximum living area, from the outside it will give the appearance of a single residence and should have no negative impact on property values. Finding of fact number 3 asks if there would be practical difficulties in the use of the property if the additional square footage was not approved. While the current structure could be redesigned with reduced square footage at the expense of the petitioner, staff encourages the use of ADUs and recognizes there are occasions when it should be appropriate to increase the maximum living area. Therefore, staff recommends the petitioner's request to increase the maximum square footage for this ADU to 1,410 square feet. And we're open for discussion on this, gentlemen.
Once again, it sounds fairly logical to me.
Anyone else?
Said it's logical. It's just a smart thing to do.
We need some nice homes like that in the communities too, you know?
Mr. Maxwell, any comments? Not trying to put you on the spot, first night and all.
I think it's a wonderful idea. I know many people dealing with the aging parents, and this is a great idea. I mean, if you can live that close to your mother-in-law, go for it.
I agree. I think I'm gonna take this home, show it to my kids. Maybe suggest they adopt the same mindset.
I agree.
No, beautiful home and seems like the right thing at the right place at the right time. I certainly support this. Any other discussion? No, open for a motion.
Move on public hearing D-23-04 that we approve based on the finding of facts and the staff's report.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve with no conditions. Do I have a second to that?
Make a motion, we approve it.
Thank you. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Say aye. Aye. It is approved. Thank you very much, folks. You're welcome. You're welcome. Moving on the agenda this evening, under staff reports, Mr. Peden, do we have an attorney's report this evening? No report. Thank you. And Ms. Parker, our plan director, I see we have noted here rules and procedures draft.
You have a wonderful little reading document for your, if you have insomnia, this would be a great thing for you to do. Just like with Plan Commission, we're updating the rules of procedure for each of your bodies. This way we can make sure that it is in compliance and matches the new Unified Development Ordinance. There's no major changes in it. It's simply cleaning up the language so that it's consistent from one document to the other. So you might recall a couple years ago, we had some big changes with public notice and how we did that, but none of those changes are in here, so I don't really have anything to, glaring to point out to you. It's just, please review it, become familiar with it, and let me know if you catch any typos or if if there's a particular item in there that you want further clarification. So the plan is that you'll review this over the next month, and if you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out and let me know, but if you don't have any issues, then we'll be able to actually adopt it at our next meeting. Unless you want to work it over some more. And that's all I had.
Thank you.
And there will be a meeting in April, so
There will be what?
we will have a meeting next month.
Oh, okay.
Next
All
month,
right,
March.
thank you. So, I'm sorry, I was reading and not listening as closely as I should have been. Are we taking any action on this evening?
No.
Being asked to take any action?
Not tonight.
Okay,
It's just for your review and comment. You can take action on it at next month's meeting if you wish.
okay. All right, gentlemen, anything for Ms. Parker?
We want the 60-day thing back separate from the rest of them.
I imagine that we'll have new information, and so it might change my staff report, so you can keep it all. But thank you.
For 60 days out.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, I have nothing else on the agenda. So open for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Thank you. I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second to that? Second. Mr. McGrath seconds. All in favor? Please raise your right hand, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.